tonight, a very curious sighting in a remote part of the country, a mysterious metal structure that offers a lot more questions than answers.
Have you ever been to a place where you suddenly spotted something that was not there a few minutes before? There have been multiple reports about strange encounters like this.
Well, social media is alight this week with conspiracy theories as a mysterious 10-foot silver monolith landed atop Hay Bluff near Hay-on-Wye.
Whilst some can be very frightening, others can be more shocking than frightening. Would these people want to relive this experience? Or would they rather not experience something like this again? Join us as we explore things people recorded in the middle of nowhere that nobody can believe. Number 1. A strange glass appears out of nowhere. A man found a strange-looking object in the middle of nowhere, a milky, transparent-looking glass standing erect on a vast piece of land. What caught his attention most was that he had been there a couple of hours ago, and he did not see a monument that looked like that one. So, it begged the question, where did it come from? Upon further research, they discovered that the monolith, which is the name that they ascribed to this strange thing, has been seen in many other places. What was most peculiar about everywhere that it had been seen, the stories of those who saw it were similar to that of this man. It had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Many people think that aliens could be responsible for it, but some people share an opposing view. They believe that it was erected by humans. Whilst many conspiracy theorists do not share this sentiment with them, it remains to be seen whether or not it was erected by humans or by extraterrestrial beings. Is there anything better than enjoying the peace and quiet of the night by just looking at the stars and finding joy in the way they shine? Well, some experiences get ruined. Number 2. A bright star starts. Hovering on a certain beautiful starry night, a man decides to enjoy the serenity of that night sky and the stars. Little did he know what was in store for him. It did not take long for him to notice something strange in the night sky. Amongst all the stars in the sky, one shone brighter than all the rest, and here's where things get interesting. It was hovering about. If you know anything about stars, you know that's not how they are. The man decided to make a recording of this strange phenomenon. In the recording, the bright object is seen hovering back and forth in the sky until it settles at a spot and finally disappears. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It is thought by many to have been a spaceship, and that theory is still quite believable compared to it being a drone. Not like man competes with nature, but in everything that man has done, nature has always liked to prove that she can do one better. Number 3. Nature shows off beautiful lighting. If you're someone who gets intrigued by light shows, then this is the right place for you. Seeing fireworks is an amazing experience, but nature has a thing where it always likes to outdo human beings. What is appearing in this footage is an incredible glow of the bioluminescent plankton, or algae, as they are called. Bioluminescent algae are tiny, marine algae that produce a bluish-green light. They are single-celled organisms. Dinoflagellates are the most common type of bioluminescent algae that grow on the surface of the ocean. Noctiluca scintillans, also known as sea sparkle, is one such bioluminescent dinoflagellate. Bioluminescent algae glow for a short time when they are disturbed. However, changes in the environment, like a decrease in the saltiness of the water, can force bioluminescent algae to glow continuously. In such cases, they look like sparkling blue or green spots in the dark ocean. Bioluminescent algae appear mesmerizing on a backdrop of dark waters. Looking at bioluminescence can be the most beautiful experience. However, it may be a warning sign because many bioluminescent dinoflagellate species are toxic. They can be poisonous to fish that swim around them. If you come in contact with such bioluminescent algae, they can be harmful to you too. Some species, like the sea sparkle, are not very poisonous, but can still have unpleasant side effects. Some places are hotspots for weird sightings, and when it comes to the U.S., Utah is one of those places that takes precedence. Number 4. A fearful dark being spotted in Utah. If conspiracy theories are your thing, then take a look at this footage from Utah. And no, do not focus your attention on the X trail in the sky, although that does appear a tad bit suspicious, doesn't it? But it is not the elephant in the footage. Do you see the dark being or creature in the video? It was accidentally captured by the individual who sent the video. It did not take long for another individual who had the area to share similar footage. Whatever it is, it doesn't seem to care much about being caught on footage. It might probably feel like whoever shares the footage will not gain the trust or belief of others. Not to even mention, Utah is a hotspot for UFOs and unusual occurrences. Unexplained aerial phenomena, UAP or UFOs,
The deepening mystery of, quote, unexplained aerial phenomena, known to most of us as UFOs,
have long been spotted in the skies. While initial investigations yielded no conclusive evidence, a new study suggests a link between sighting locations and their surroundings. Researchers examined over 2 decades of UAP reports, finding a higher frequency in areas with clear skies, minimal light pollution, and unobstructed views. This correlation could be due to several factors, such as improved visibility, which allows for more unusual objects to be seen. The study highlights the importance of environmental factors when analyzing UAP sightings. Researchers at the University of Utah dived deep into UFO sightings, looking for a connection between where people see them and the surrounding environment. They analyzed nearly 100 FUAN's reports from the National UFO Research Center, spanning 20 years, between 2001 and 2020. They considered 2 factors for each county in the continental U.S. First, how clear the view of the sky is, light pollution, clouds, trees, and how likely something might be up there, airports, and military bases. The results showed more sightings in the western U.S., likely due to the open spaces and darkness. Interestingly, hotspots for reports often coincided with areas with high air traffic or military presence. This suggests people might be seeing actual objects, just not understanding what they are. Well, it's up to each person to believe what they want to believe. Speaking of belief, some people believe that there is life under the sea, and not just aquatic life, but life like the actual presence of mermaids. Number 5. Mermaid skeleton found in Australia. Australia is the gift that keeps on giving. Every day, something creepy is being discovered in Australia, the home of the red spider. But this footage has nothing to do with the red spider. An astonishing discovery was made on a beach in Keppel Sands in Queensland, Australia, according to a report in Daily Star. People stumbled upon a bone structure that left them in shock. A 34-year-old Bobby Lee Oates, who was taking a stroll on the beach, managed to capture a photo of the skeleton, now being called mermaid bones. At first glance, Oates couldn't tell if she had come across the decomposed remains of a human or an entirely new species. In the pictures that have surfaced online, the elongated body of the skeleton is visible, along with the rib cage and spinal cord. Additionally, there is a skull resembling that of a human. Many people have been referring to it as the bones of a mermaid. However, this claim lacks support, as mermaids are fictional characters often depicted in films. The creature's body has been described as being approximately 6 feet long. Whilst some weird sightings recorded make you ponder, others make your heart bleed, and sadly, some of these situations are just circumstances of birth. Number 6. A baby's unnatural tiny head. This footage is quite heartbreaking, as the man in this footage is just as human as any human in the world. The man is suffering from a medical defect called microcephaly.
As Zika cases continue to increase across South Florida, fear of babies born with microcephaly is certainly growing.
This is a condition that affects the brain, particularly during fetal development. Microcephaly is a condition where a baby's head is much smaller than expected. During pregnancy, A baby's head grows because the baby's brain grows. Microcephaly can occur because a baby's brain has not developed properly during pregnancy or has stopped growing after birth, which results in a smaller head size. Microcephaly can be an isolated condition, meaning that it can occur with no other major birth defects, or it can occur in combination with other major birth defects. Babies with microcephaly can have a range of other problems, depending on how severe their microcephaly is. Microcephaly has been linked with the following problems: caesures, developmental delay, such as problems with speech, or other developmental milestones like sitting, standing, and walking; intellectual disability, decreased ability to learn and function in daily life, problems with movement and balance; feeding problems, such as difficulty swallowing, hearing loss, and vision problems. These problems can range from mild to severe and are often lifelong because the baby's brain is small and underdeveloped. Babies with severe microcephaly can have more of these problems or have more difficulty with them than babies with milder microcephaly. Severe microcephaly also can be life-threatening because it is difficult to predict at birth what problems a baby will have from microcephaly. Babies with microcephaly often need close follow-up through regular checkups with a healthcare provider to monitor their growth and development. Microcephaly is not a common condition. Researchers estimate that about 1 in every 800 to 5,000 babies is born with microcephaly in the United States. Some footage makes you sad, others make you jump up in terror. And next on this list is something like that. Number 7. Fisherman caught strange creature with human hands. Footage taken by some fishermen on a commercial boat had tongues wagging. They were headed out on a regular fishing trip, hoping to catch a lot of fish, but instead of the usual catch, they caught something more incredible. As they pulled up their net, they discovered a huge creature tangled in the net, trying to break free. To make matters more interesting, a human-like webbed arm snaked out of the mass with webbed fingers. This was a terrifying experience for these fishermen and all around them, as there was no aquatic animal with webbed human-like fingers. Could it have been a mermaid? Or a siren? Or could it be something entirely different that we have no idea about? Something entirely different could also be creepy. Something that would make your skin crawl. And Skinwalker Ranch is just that, creepy. Number 8. UFO sighted at Skinwalker Ranch. Some have called it a supernatural place. Others have deemed it cursed. Terry Sherman got so spooked by the happenings on his new cattle ranch that 18 months after moving his family of 4 to the property now known by many as Skinwalker Ranch in northeastern Utah, he sold the 512-acre parcel. He and his wife Gwen shared their chilling experiences with a local reporter in June 1996. They'd seen mysterious crop circles, the Shermans said, and UFOs, and the systematic and repeated mutilation of their cattle in an oddly surgical and bloodless manner. Within 3 months of the story's publication, Las Vegas real estate magnate and UFO enthusiast Robert Bigelow bought the property for $200,000. Under the name the National Institute for Discovery Science, Bigelow set up round-the-clock surveillance of the ranch, hoping to get to the bottom of the paranormal claims. That surveillance yielded a book called Hunt for the Skinwalker. Science confronts the unexplained at a remote ranch in Utah, in which several of the researchers claimed to have seen paranormal activities. But they were unable to capture any meaningful physical evidence supporting the Shermans' incredible stories. The ranch was resold to Adamantium Real Estate in 2016. Had the Shermans been lying about what they saw, or under the spell of a collective delusion? Without evidence, the stories they tell are difficult to believe, but they're hardly unique. The Uinta Basin of eastern Utah has been such a hotbed of paranormal sightings over the years that some extraterrestrial enthusiasts have deemed it UFO Alley. You can't throw a rock in southern Utah without hitting somebody who's been abducted, local filmmaker Trent Harris told the Deseret News. Not everything the Shermans saw on their ranch was skyborne UFOs. They also claimed to see mysterious large animals, most notably a wolf 3 times the size of a normal wolf that Terry shot at close range multiple times with a rifle, to seemingly no effect. Then, on the night of March 12, 1997, after the ranch had been sold off, biochemist Colm Kelleher, working with Bigelow's National Institute for Discovery Science, claimed to see a large humanoid creature spying on the research team from a tree. As detailed in Hunt for the Skinwalker, the creature was approximately 50 yards away, watching the team safely from a tree as they perched 20 feet off the ground. Repeated sightings of human-like creatures have led some to invoke the name Skinwalker, a shape-shifting character from Navajo tribal folklore. Among the Navajo, skinwalkers are like werewolves, evil witches who can transform themselves into the creatures of their choosing. But Sherman's family ranch was 400 miles north of the Navajo Nation. It was next to Ute territory, and when the Utes and the Navajo did cross paths, it was an acrimonious relationship, explains historian Sondra Jones, author of Being and Becoming Ute. It was not friendly, Jones says. The Navajo were more aggressive people. They took slaves, and they had Ute slaves. There was direct conflict when the Navajo attempted to move up into Ute territory at modern-day Pagosa Springs and Durango. While skinwalkers don't feature in Ute religion, there are still aspects of the ranch that make sense within the context of Ute lore. Other strange sightings have occurred directly next door, at Bottle Hollow, a 420-acre man-made reservoir on Ute land abutting the ranch, which was filled with fresh water in 1970 by federal government mandate. In 1998, a police officer saw a large light plunge into the reservoir and then re-emerge, flying off into the night sky. One night in 2002, 4 young, non-Indian men standing on the reservoir's shoreline saw a blue-white ball enter the artificial lake. According to the Hunt for the Skinwalker, the glowing ball dove into the water just a few feet from the shore, then emerged seconds later in a new form, a shimmering, maneuverable, belt-shaped shaft of light. After performing a brief, writhing aerial dance, the belt of light zipped away at a high rate of speed, hugging the ground before disappearing below the top of Skinwalker Ridge. The appearance of the supernatural around Bottle Hollow makes sense in the context of Ute's belief. According to Jones, amongst the Ute's springs and certain waterways were reservoirs of negative power. There were evil spirits, or evil spirits that would rise out of the water and drag you in. Skinwalker ushers us into the world of the unbelievable. And it's only right that it's followed up with something that makes you question just what exists and what doesn't. Number 9. Flying objects sighted above Minnesota. In Minnesota, in the U.S., a flying object was seen, and as you can see, it looks nothing like the usual reported UFO sightings. Instead of the typical silvery metallic craft, this airborne mystery took the form of what appeared to be a floating log. Now, when it comes to UFOs, what comes to mind is flying saucers making their way through the sky. But now something that looks like a log leisurely floating in the sky is sure to raise more than a few eyebrows. Is this timber-powered aircraft defying gravity? Well, the answer is not quite. This floating log could easily be a whimsical interplay of perspective and atmospheric conditions. Perhaps it is a weather drone, or just a playful optical illusion. Who could ever know? Well, Minnesota is no stranger to sightings like this. August 27, 1979. In Warren, Minnesota, about 20 miles from the North Dakota border, Marshall County Sheriff's Deputy Val Johnson was on patrol early in the morning on Highway 5 when he saw a bright light to the south on Highway 220. Johnson thought it may be a crashed semi or a downed plane, but as he approached it, he said the light instantly jumped through the windshield, hitting him like a 200-pound pillow, knocking him out. His reaction was preserved in the actual radio call to dispatch when he awoke. Dispatch operator, Fort Hood 7. What is your condition? Deputy Johnson. I don't know. Something just hit my car. Dispatch. What's your condition? Are you okay? Johnson. Something attacked my car? I heard the glass breaking and the brakes locked up. I don't know what's going on. According to the sheriff's office investigation reports, Johnson's wristwatch and the clock on the 1977 Ford El Iluti cruiser stopped working for 14 minutes. Johnson said his teeth were fractured at the gum line and his eyes burned. My eyes were extremely painful, as if I'd been subjected to something like arc welder burn or something, said Johnson during an interview on the 1980 TV show That's Incredible. His story and injuries mystified the nation, but there's another piece of evidence that still brings the curious to the Marshall County Historical Society Museum, the squad car, damage and all. This is the big thing they come to see, said Sherlin Meyer, director of the Marshall County Historical Society, while showing us the actual damage to the squad car. Whatever hit him started with a broken headlight, and up here there is a weird dent on the top of the hood. Broke the windshield, hit the reflector, and bent both of the antennae. The sheriff's office, back in '79, brought out experts from Honeywell and Ford Motor Company to examine the damage. I have not seen anything like this before, said Ford crash investigator Meridian French in the That's Incredible show. They are extremely unusual. Dennis Brecky, the Marshall County sheriff at the time, said he took Johnson at his word. The sheriff tried other means to get an answer as to what happened to Johnson. Investigative documents show he reached out to Alan Hendry, chief investigator with the Center for UFO Studies. The biggest mystery about the Val Johnson case is trying to find one neat explanation for something that could behave the way he described, yet create the kinds of damage that we discovered, said Hendry in the That's Incredible report. No one in 42 years has been able to explain what happened, including Johnson. Moving on, what would you do if you suddenly heard mysterious voices behind you, especially at a graveyard? Well, that was Franco's experience, so let's find out. Number 10. YouTuber Franco explores scary graveyard. Alone. YouTubers are known to do the most daring things, and this YouTuber is no different. Franco decides to go on a solo mission to explore a spooky graveyard one night. Well, the experience gets spookier as he is snooping around. He stumbled upon a massive spider chilling on a tree. This is not something anyone would casually just run into during a midnight cemetery stroll. You think it's weird? Well, things get weirder for Franco. Soon, he began to hear strange noises coming from somewhere nearby. Naturally, the sensible thing to do for most people would be to run, but not Franco. He turned back to investigate where the noise was coming from, but he found nothing. As he was still trying to process this, he heard a loud cry in the distance, and it sounded like a woman's cry. So, he decided to follow the noise, and that's where things got interesting. As he gets closer to the source of the noise, from the shadows emerges a mysterious-looking man, just standing there in the darkness. The man orders Franco to get lost, and he doesn't stop there. He follows Franco all the way. Who knows? The man might have been the caretaker of the cemetery, but the part of hearing the screams of a woman remains a mystery. What could have caused such a scream? Well, will we ever find out? Hearing voices in the graveyard has somewhat become cliché, but sometimes it's really important to take these stories with a pinch of salt and exercise caution. Seeing is believing, and speaking of believing. Number 11. Wilkerson now believes in UFOs. A Pennsylvania woman who captured what she insists was an unidentified flying object on her cell phone camera says she is really scared now. A couple of police officers also say they saw the UFO that night. Stephanie Wilkerson says she was relaxing on her porch in Lower Paxton Township, Pennsylvania, on Monday night when she spotted an object in the night sky. I thought it was a plane until I realized it wasn't moving, Wilkerson told ABC News. I watched it for about 20 minutes, and I started noticing it changing colors. Wilkerson grabbed her cell phone to record the mysterious object and also called her neighbor over to verify what she was seeing. He went and got his binoculars because he first thought it was a planet, Wilkerson said. Then he said, no, it changed yellow. That is not a planet. Wilkerson also called 911, but when an officer arrived at her home, he could not explain the mysterious objects in the sky. He went there and, apparently, he saw them too, so he called his sergeant and his corporal to come and verify what he was seeing, said Lower Paxton Township Police Lieutenant Gary Seafelt. Authorities contacted both the local airport and the National Guard Training Center, but neither had records of any flight activity that night. Wilkerson says she saw the mysterious lights again Wednesday night, and a neighbor reports seeing the UFO last week as well, she said. For me to see that, I am now a believer in UFOs, Wilkerson said. Another UFO was sighted in the sky in Pennsylvania in 2015. A red glowing object was spotted hovering over the city of Altoona, Pennsylvania, U.S. at 10:45 p.m. on 30th June 2014 by 2 residents, and the video was captured on a Windows 8 phone. My granddaughter and I were sitting outside when we saw this, and she captured it on her Windows 8 phone, the witness reported to UFO Sightings Daily. The 1 minute and 32-second video was posted on YouTube by a user named Bonnie Longo. The strange footage appeared to go from one point to another while glowing constantly red, which makes it clear that it is not an airplane, as planes have white lights along with crimson. The 30-minute video footage turned out to be an exciting one, with the mysterious light that looked like an extraterrestrial or a UFO hovering in the clear winter night sky above Cumbest Bluff, a remote part of the state bordering Alabama. Another flying object was spotted from the window of an airplane flying over the skies of London. The incident was captured in a 5-second video and was uploaded on YouTube. The video shows a huge dark-colored disc with lights on either side. It seemed that the unidentified object was hovering above the cloud lines. The rare sighting was captured on the morning of 25th May. The Earth has been proven to be home to gigantic creatures hundreds of millions of years ago. But what if some of those creatures still roam around, hidden away from us? Number 12. A giant peeps through a door. What would you do if you stumbled on a doorway that could lead to the lair of a giant? That would be quite the discovery, and a man from Oregon claims to have found it. The door was constructed with massive rocks. This looks like something or someone big was involved in this. James Goebel was making his way through Quartzville Drive near the Green Peter Reservoir when he claims he saw a giant peep through a large rock on the side of the road in the Cascade foothills on October 23rd. The mythical creature, however, disappeared before he could get his phone out to record the ordeal, the former Sweet Home Council member said. Goebel, who is also a production manager for a titanium casting foundry, has made multiple videos since his initial theory went viral on TikTok, as he answers questions from followers and returns to the rocky site. Peeking from behind the door in the rock formation was a giant, he claims. In the viral clip, which he has since deleted, Goebel said, "It looked like somebody was staring out of it. Dude, giants are freaking real. I don't care what anybody says." He said that now, when he goes out with his wife for dinner, he's called out by members of the public who recognize him. Goebel now returns to the rock to point out the pivot, points and says that he's going to fly a drone over parts of the rocks to check them out in more detail. He has also started discussing fan theories while pointing out the cracks, drag marks, and interesting formations. Goebel maintains that his giant sighting was real. Goebel told Coin 6 News, "The power of social media is wide, and I never thought this would go so far. I've posted things in the past, but I only had 60 people following me. So when I heard and thought I saw something, I made a video for my friends to see what I was seeing. It is amazing how many people are adventuring out to see this. They all need to be careful and leave no trace of garbage around. I truly hope some get as lucky as I did, and it changes their lives forever." Lynn County spokesperson Alex Paul tried to dissuade people from going and exploring the mountainside. "We do not support folks going in there. and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does not want folks in there due to the water level drawdown at Green Peter Reservoir. The theories have captured the imaginations of many people online. One person said, "I believe there are entrances to the inner earth. That rock looks like it's placed there." And another added, "Wonder if you put a trail camera facing the rock door to see if it would pick up if the door opens." Others said they had also previously visited and had out-of-this-world encounters. Another TikToker said, "I was outside of that area years ago during winter and had taken a photograph that captured a giant footprint in the snow. I believe the picture now." And a fourth added, "I watched your original. It was a giant that closed the rock door." Another person wrote, "Looked it up on Google Maps, and even from there you can see it looks like a door." Super strange. Thanks for watching. Drop your opinion on what you think about these strange recordings in the comments below. Do well to like the video, and make sure to subscribe to our channel to keep watching thrilling videos like these.